In this video, I want to talk about the 10 common mistakes that I often see photographers making. So if you want to know what these are so you can avoid them, stick around. Hi, Paul here from Photo Genius. Welcome to my channel. Now, in the 10 years that I've been teaching photography courses and workshops here in Brisbane, and my 3 years running this channel on YouTube, I've literally helped thousands of people to take better photos and get even more from their digital cameras. So the 10 things that I want to talk about in this video are compiled from my many years of experience. So please make sure you watch this video until the end, because there may only be one or two things that you might pick up on that may be useful to you, but even if it's just one or two things, that was worth investing the time, because they're all designed to help you get even more from your camera and of course take better photos. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. New videos every single week. Okay, let's get into it. Now, image stabilisation is a great feature that is often found either in a lens or the camera body, sometimes both. If you've got a Nikon lens and it's got VR written on the side, then that lens has vibration reduction. If you've got a Canon lens and it has IS, that's image stabilisation. DSLR cameras don't have it built into them, but mirrorless cameras mostly do. This camera I'm using to record this video is a Nikon. It's got IBIS built in, which is in-body image stabilisation. Sony use a similar feature. It's called steady shot, as do Olympus and all the other manufacturers. But regardless of what camera you've got, the name, the feature itself is actually really cool, and it's designed to help give you sharper images by helping to eliminate camera shake when you're using your camera handheld. But there is a reason to turn it off. It's often missed, and that's what I want to talk about. If you're taking photos of the sunset or at night and you're using a tripod to keep the camera steady, then don't forget to turn off image stabilization. Otherwise, your camera will be trying to compensate for movement, which of course isn't there because you're using a tripod. Left turned on, the stabilization can actually cause images to look soft. Now, ISO, or ISO as some people like to call it, is one of three ways in which we can affect our exposure. If you increase the ISO, effectively you make your picture brighter, and if you decrease the ISO, your picture will get darker. Now, there's more to it than this, but I'm not going to be talking about it in this video. So if you want to know more about ISO, check out the links below this video. What you need to know though is if your pictures are looking very grainy, this is often called digital noise, then it's almost certainly because your ISO is too high. This is effectively distortion. Now, my default ISO is 200, and that's what I recommend for you guys as well. Changing the ISO on the camera is usually pretty easy, and make a note if you've got a Nikon DSLR camera, because your camera may be set to automatic ISO. Now, if it is, I would definitely recommend going into the menu and turning this off. ISO 200 should give you nice, clean looking images. For this sunset image, I shot this with an entry-level Canon camera at ISO 100. The image is nice and sharp and detailed, and if we enlarge the image to 100%, there is minimal digital noise. For the second image, I've increased the ISO to 6400, and the digital noise is much more noticeable. Now, if you're watching this video on a small screen, such as a phone or similar device, you may not notice the difference. But if we enlarge this image to 100%, clearly at ISO 6400, the image quality is really poor. So digital noise is much more noticeable the larger the image is displayed. Side by side, these images look very similar. So you can get away with increasing the ISO if your image is only going to be viewed on a small device, maybe on Instagram and social media. But if your intention is to crop the image, print the image, or view the image on a large screen, remember, ISO, keep it low. Now, I do understand why many people try to avoid buying a tripod. Who wants to walk around with a tripod all day? It's large, it's cumbersome, and it takes ages to set up. But a tripod is a must-have bit of kit if you want to take photos in low light, do night photography or long exposures and landscapes. Using a tripod opens up so many more photographic possibilities because you can start to use the slower shutter speeds to create amazing photos that would be hard, if not impossible, to do handheld. Now, of course, if you don't want to carry a full-size tripod around, there are plenty of smaller options available. Two I like to recommend are the Joby Gorilla Pods with their bendy legs. These are very, very useful. Also, the Manfrotto Pixie Evo is awesome. For more info, check out the links below this video. Now, we all have to start somewhere, and as a beginner, photography can be a bit challenging and daunting at first. There's a lot of things to understand, and one of them is lenses and different lens types. Now, when I'm running my courses, I typically see people turning up with a camera like this Canon camera here and a standard kit lens, which is the 18 to 55mm lens. But when you talk to people, you often find that they've got a second lens that they don't use. This is a telephoto lens. It's often in the back of the bag. Now, I think people tend to feel more comfortable with a smaller lens because it is smaller, more compact, it's lighter. And a lot of people don't really know the benefits of the telephoto lens. All they know is it's a bit heavy and a bit bulky. Well, look, if you're not using your telephoto lens, I think you're missing out. Here I'm using the popular 18 to 55mm kit lens. At 18mm, it gives us a wide field of view, which is great for landscapes like this one. Adjusting the focal length to 35mm and then to the maximum, which is of course 55mm, and we lose that wide view as the subjects in the distance are drawn closer. Switching the standard lens for a telephoto lens, we have a lot more to play with now, starting at 75mm, increasing the focal length as we go 100mm onto 200mm, and then the maximum of course is 300mm, which gets you in really, really close. And once again, comparing images from the two lenses, this is the kit lens set at 18mm. If you look very carefully, there's an orange boat in the distance. Let's now switch to an image taken with the telephoto at its maximum focal length, 300mm, and you can clearly see the boat because this is what those types of lenses are really good at. So of course there's a reason why we can change lenses on a camera like this. Just because this lens is bigger, don't leave it in the camera bag. Use it, have fun with it, discover what it can do. This one's about composition, a very simple way in which we can make our pictures more engaging and make them stand out from the rest. Whilst of course this image of our dog Boo is cute and I love it, it is taken from an adult's perspective looking down. Shooting low is a more interesting shot because now we are seeing from the eye level of the dog. Here taking photos just with my iPhone, but getting great results because I'm thinking about my composition. The common theme with all these images is the low angle from which they were taken. Always shooting from eye level is a mistake because your pictures will always look like everybody else's because they're taken from a viewpoint that most of us commonly see all the time. Another very common mistake that I see people making is getting too close with the lens and wondering why it can't focus. That's because every lens has its limitations. Now, just because it has the word macro on the side of this lens, it does not make it a macro lens. What it's actually showing me here is how close I can get with this lens before it will be unable to focus. And of course, if I'm too close, all I've got to do is pull the lens back a bit and it should be able to focus just fine. Of course, if you really want to do macro photography and get really close to your subject, then it's better to buy a dedicated macro lens. And if you want to do macro on a budget, consider extension tubes, which is a great way of doing macro lens on a budget, because what you actually do is you use them to turn your existing lens into a macro style lens. I've done a separate video on this. You'll find a link in the description below this video. Now, when taking pictures, you might be using the LCD screen on the back of the camera. It's a great feature of the camera. It's very useful. It's called live view, but there are reasons why you might want to occasionally switch from using the LCD screen to using the viewfinder. Reason number one is on a bright sunny day, it may be a bit hard to actually see the screen and what you're taking a picture of. It may be difficult to see whether that subject is in focus or out of focus. Number two, when you're holding the camera out and looking at the camera screen, this is a very unsteady way of holding a camera, which can lead to the camera recording your hand movements and your images looking a bit soft or blurry. And reason number three, this screen is a real big drain on the battery. So there's three reasons why you might occasionally want to turn the LCD off. And go back to doing things the old-fashioned way, using the viewfinder. Now, if you do find yourself using the viewfinder, do make sure you adjust it so it suits your eyes. There's a little dial or wheel on the back of the viewfinder, usually tucked into the top or the side, and turning that you can adjust the viewfinder so you get a nice clear view. Now for me, when I'm taking pictures handheld, I'm nearly always looking through the viewfinder. But if I'm using my camera on a tripod, then I like to use the live view. Now, you're not a real photographer unless you're shooting in the manual mode, right? Well, I think that's wrong. Manual mode, I like it. It's great. It allows you to control the key components of the camera: aperture, shutter speed, ISO. When I'm doing my photography courses, I actively encourage people to shoot in the manual mode because they're having to think about aperture, shutter speed and ISO. Manual is great, but it's not for everybody. If you're an absolute beginner, check out program mode, which is P on the dial. With this mode, the camera does most of the hard work for you, but you have some flexibility. You can manually change some of the settings. Aperture priority, that's great because you can control the aperture and the camera helps you out with the rest. One of my favorites is shutter priority, which is great for moving subjects like wildlife and particularly sports, because you can lock in the shutter speed, the camera helps you out with the rest. These modes are great alternatives to the manual mode. Sure, I'd love to see all you guys shoot in full manual, that's brilliant, but I think you should use the mode that's going to give you the results you want, as long as that's not auto. Autofocus is a great feature of a camera, and as technology evolves, it just gets better and better with features like face detection and eye detection. Now, whether you're doing stills or video like I'm doing now, take advantage of these features. I'm using face detection now, so I don't have to worry about adjusting the focus. The camera tracks my face. It's really, really cool. But what do you do when autofocus is not giving you the results you need? Well, to be honest, I meet lots of people who just don't know what to do and they give up. But for me, I've always got a backup plan in place, and that backup plan is manually adjusting the focus. It's extremely easy to do, but of course you need to know how to do it. So let me show you. Start by switching your lens to manual focus. If your lens doesn't have a switch like this Nikon camera, then go to the focus modes, select MF for manual focus, and this will do the same. All you've got to do then is reach around and adjust the focus ring on the lens, not confusing it with the zoom, and this will allow you to adjust your focus. Just shooting in the auto mode and never exploring what your camera can actually do, I think, is the biggest mistake that someone can make. In the auto mode, your camera does all the work for you. It works out the exposure, it looks after the focus, and of course, if your picture doesn't turn out the way you intended it to, I guess you can't complain because you weren't willing to get involved and learn some of the basics. Most of the people I teach photography to have no desires to be professional photographers. They like taking photos of their holidays, their travels, their friends and family, maybe a great sunset or an important event. But the difference is the people that I teach are willing to learn some basics. So start with the basics. Learn about exposure, aperture, shutter speed, ISO. And there's plenty of ways to do this. You could do a photography course. You could watch my videos here on YouTube or join a Facebook group. Consider joining my free monthly photography challenge covering themes such as portrait, macro and night photography. Click the link for more info. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to this channel, because I put out videos every single week. Tutorials, how-tos, occasional gear reviews, all designed to help you get more from your camera and take better photos. You can leave your comments, suggestions and questions down below, and I hope to see you again sometime soon. See ya, bye.